Well, folks, despite having only 2 unbroken arms between our only 2 goalkeepers for at least a little bit of this run-in, we find ourselves this close to the promised land. Hello and welcome to part 126 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have our final 2 games of the Championship season. Hopefully our final 2 games in the Championship, although let's face it, if we go up we're probably coming back down again. But we're away against Swansea, at home against Swindon, and since you were last with me, it's been the Shawn Hull show, and we've had a Shawn Hull inspired run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight league wins. During which time, how many goals has this man scored in those 7 games? He's got 4 in a game twice. So 4, 6, 8, 12, 13 goals in 7 games from Shawn Hull. He's on 22 from 21 starts for the season. He's kind of exploded onto the scene. He's only here on loan. We need to sign him permanently, no matter what league we're in next year. But really, we should be finding ourselves in the Premier League next year, because with 2 games to go, we're 5 points clear at the top of the league. If we win this game against Swansea now, we're promoted as champions. If we draw this game against Swansea now, unless there's a 20-goal turnaround from Burnley or Huddersfield, we're promoted as champions. We have to lose both of our final 2 games to bottle this somehow. I mean, we've got it in us, that's for sure. But fingers crossed, on this occasion, we might actually avoid the bottle job. The comment I made at the start about the goalkeepers, if you haven't been keeping an eye on my Twitter or the community page here on the channel, you'll remember in the last episode, Lee Hugo broke his arm. Well, before the next game, Sam Griffiths also broke his arm. This game against Preston, you'll see that we had a kid in goal, Robbie Gethield, who was 2.5 greyed out stars of current ability. He played 2 games for us in the end. Yeah, he wasn't very good. But luckily, Lee Hugo made a miraculous recovery from his broken hand, combined with a very conveniently placed international break, because where were we? I think it was it this game? No, it was the Fulham game, wasn't it, where Hugo broke his arm. So he missed the Leeds game, had a long international break, missed the Portsmouth game, but was then back missed the Preston. I can't remember. Anyway, he missed a few games. He was out for over a month, but 2 weeks of that was international break. So we actually only had to play the kid in goal for 2 games, which is handy. And this is the team that we're going to be putting out there to try and win us the league. In fact, there you go. Let's just look at Hull to see how long he was injured for. He's out for 5 weeks with a broken hand. That's, see, they're the kind of injuries Robbie Nadat never used to get. Saving the ball. It's the problem with being a good goalkeeper. You make some saves and apparently you can get hurt doing it. This is the team we're putting out there away against Swansea to try and get us into the Premier League. We've got Hugo in goal, a back 4 of O'Brien, Sawyer, Taggart and King. Barber, Lenton and Denny are in midfield, with Richardson in behind Hull and Ruggles. We've got 3 players on the shortlist for Championship Player of the Season. Josh Sawyer is one of them. Levi Hayes is another one. Tony Barron is another. So we've only actually got 2 of them on the pitch. Hayes and Barron both starting on the bench today. But Josh Sawyer, the amount of times I tried to sell this man, he's at the end of his 10th season with us now. And look at that. Look at that compared to the rest of his career. Joshua Sawyer, aged 28, arrived as an Nuneaton Town player this season and could be about to lead us into the Premier League. Let's get into this match. I'm so excited, like properly excited. Because as long as we don't lose this one, there you go, Sawyer's going to be captain for today as well, with all our other captain-type folk unavailable. Josh Sawyer, 10 years at the club, signed for us when we were in non-league. He's got the potential to lead us into the Premier League today in like his 410th appearance or something ridiculous. There you go, let's do that. So if we do manage to avoid defeat today, the next match, our final game of the season, which is at home, could potentially be our final ever game at Liberty Way. Obviously, we're already in the process of identifying a location for a new ground, but we won't be allowed to take Liberty Way into the Premier League. So, I mean, there's always the possibility that we could have a year back there if we go up, get relegated and the new ground's still not finished. But next season, if we get promoted, we're going to be playing somewhere else. I don't know. I would assume the most logical somewhere else would be Coventry, because it's just down the road from Nuneaton. But I know I've spoken to some people who've gone to Birmingham, to Villa. Lots of you are playing Nuneaton saves, which is brilliant. So It could be anywhere in the West Midlands area, which interestingly, I've got two cups clanging together. The people of the West Midlands always just refer to it as the Midlands, whereas the people of the East Midlands refer to it as the East Midlands. What's that about? We've just gone ahead. What is that? 14 goals in 8 games for Shawn Hull now, and as it stands right now, with a game to go, we're 8 points clear at the top of the Championship. Now, obviously, we're 8 points clear of 2 teams that have both got 2 games left. But still, I'm not the best mathematician around. But I know that you only get 3 points for a win. 2 times 3 is probably 6. 6, I'm fairly certain, is a smaller number than 8. So if things end as they are now, we win the blooming league. Which, nobody saw that coming this year, did they? I certainly didn't. Right, here we go again. Ruggles finally getting the opportunity to play as an advance forward now as well, with Hull emerging as our target man. And rather than Ruggles banging in all the goals like we expected he would, in fact, Hull has just decided, oh, I'm getting a run in the team, am I? Right, I'm just going to score goals for fun. This guy is out of contract. I think he's at Watford, but he's out of contract this summer. Now, obviously, if you're Watford manager, you're looking at this thinking, well, I'm going to give him a new contract, because either way, he'll end up good for us, or Nuneaton will, on getting promoted, give us 5 million quid for him because of all the goals he scored to basically drag us into the Premier League. As Nuneaton manager, I'm hoping Watford don't know he exists. They've just forgotten all about him, and we can just pick him up on a free transfer over the summer, because one of the big fears I've got, one of the many big fears I've got about the potential of heading up into the Premier League is the fact that we can only have 2 domestic loans. Now, at the moment, if you look at the core of who's good in our team, we've got Taggart and King at the back, our central defensive heroes. Obviously, we've still got Josh Sawyer, but is he a Premier League player? But Taggart and King are both here on loan from Premier League clubs. Kent Wheatley is on loan from a Premier League club. Obviously, hasn't played massively. He's probably one that we could let go back. And Shawn Hull is on loan from a Premier League club. So we've got 4 regular-ish, certainly regular matchday squad members are on loan from Premier League clubs, and we can only have a maximum of 2 of them here next year. Now, my instinct would be, based on the other strikers we've got at the club, we bring Taggart and King back because they're so important. But then, if we can't get Hull or Wheatley in permanently, we've then got, Ruggles, Stainsby, Afsharian, Dan Fisher as our strikers. So we're probably going to need to bring in another forward. I don't really know how much money we're likely to get as well. If we do win this game, which it's looking more likely that we will, if we win this game, I think we'll get our budget for next season straight after this game, before the last game of the season, because it usually gives you the budgets when it knows what league and what competitions you're going to be playing in the following year. So if we can secure promotion now, we'll find out on this episode what budgets we've got for next year, and then we'll have more of an idea of what we're working with. We're like £5 million in debt. In a stadium that only holds 6,000 people. It's going to be interesting to see how all this pans out. My plan at the moment is to live stream the transfer window tomorrow. This is providing we get promoted. If we don't get promoted, we'll just do things as normal. But rather than putting an episode out at 4 o'clock tomorrow, I'm just going to live stream probably from about lunchtime onwards. Keep an eye on my Twitter to get an idea of exactly when I'm going to do it. But probably go live around about lunchtime and just stream the whole transfer window as we try and put together what will hopefully, touching wood here, what will hopefully be a Premier League squad, work out what ground we're going to be in, work out the budgets, and then get our first game of the season done the following day. So that's the plan as it stands right now. I can't stream first thing like I normally would when I do those, because I've got an appointment in the morning, if that's all right with you. But yeah, probably about lunchtime, couple of hours. That'll be it, because there's apparently some football match on the telly tomorrow night as well, which I guess I'll want to watch. So I don't really want to be faffing around going into the late afternoon, evening, because got to get myself prepared for that. We're still winning with 25 minutes left. We're still 8 points clear at the top. That's good to know as well. I think it probably is substitution o'clock. So let's have a little look to see what changes we can make. Griffiths, with his arm taped together, is sat there on the bench. He's not going to need to come on today. But we are going to bring on Hayden Sheridan, who's probably quite likely to get more first team time next season. He's developed well again this year. Alex Barber can come off for Tony Barron. And we'll leave it there for now. I don't want I don't want to tempt fate into giving us another injury as soon as we've made a triple substitution like it did on yesterday's episode, because I'd really, really like to just win this game and get the League One without the need for any backdoor nonsense. Here it comes, look. 3-2 with 10 minutes to go. And Swansea have got the momentum, and they're going to grab 2 goals, aren't they, and make it go to that last day of the season. Just because I'm talking about plans for if we get promoted. Right, let's make a final change. Albert Richardson's not playing particularly well. We've done this change plenty of times over the course of this season. Let's do this. Trying to defend a 1-goal lead that will get us into the Premier League. What's Kev's answer to that? 3 blooming strikers. Get up there, you two. Hull and Ruggles both playing as advanced forwards. Wheatley in between them as a target man. This has been our go-to whenever we've needed a goal. Or also whenever we've needed to defend a lead. Pretty much whenever I've needed to take Richardson or Ball off, because I tend to never have either of them on the bench, because my assistant manager picks the bench, and apparently our attacking midfielders are rubbish. Kent Wheatley might have just scored the goal that secures Premier League football for us, because at 4-2 with 7 minutes to go, surely we're not going to mess this up. And I tell you what, Hull, Wheatley and Ruggles as a front 3, I think there's plenty of Premier League teams who'd be afraid of that. The problem is, of course, we're not going to be able to sign Wheatley and Hull permanently, and we can't bring them in on loan because we need King and Taggart, who I think are already tied down for it. I think it'll be interesting to see how it works, actually, because I'm pretty sure Wheatley, Taggart and King are all officially on loan until the end of next season. So I hope it lets me choose which one I cancel. It doesn't just randomly cancel one for me. There you go. We've won the blooming league. Hull is only on loan until the end of this year because his contract is up this year. There we are. Look at that. Nuneaton Town are in the Premier League. Who'd have thunk it? Let's see if we get our budget straight away. That's what we really want. Come on, budget me. Give me 40. It's going to give me like 5 million quid, isn't it? Give me 50 million pounds to spend. So we've won the championship. Have we got a message from Sir Tom Elliott? There we go. It's not Sir Tom anymore because the game is silly and won't let him keep his knighthood after he's retired. But Sir Tom Elliott's ecstatic. The board are ecstatic. I can see the budgets there. I'm just deliberately saving them until last because I'm afraid of what I'm going to see when we get there. I'm not going to look. Is it good or bad? Middling, I would say. I mean, that's a massive, massive increase on our wage budget. Wage budget at the moment is 150,000. It was up to 350,000. It's not a Premier League wage budget, by any stretch of the imagination. But having nearly £30 million to spend is going to be handy. I mean, that's probably as good as we could have realistically hoped for. Let's go and play potentially our last ever game at Liberty Way. Here we go then, folks. What's likely to be our final game at Liberty Way. It's going to be emotional for many reasons. We're going to say goodbye to the ground that has served us so well for 15 seasons now. But we're also going to be saying goodbye to Dan Fisher. His contract is up this summer. He's 30 years old. We're not going to be offering him a new contract. He never did manage to break the all-time top goal scorer record. That's now going to be a record for Chris Ruggles to chase. But we are going to give Dan Fisher a start for the last time. And we've got as many of the old heroes back in the team as we can for our final game back at this ground. So we've got Fisher back in the team. Ball's back in the team. Obviously, Josh Sawyer in the team as well. Ball and Sawyer both have the opportunity to be players who've played for us in every league, from non-league up to the Premier League. Obviously, neither of them were with us in the Conference North. It would have only have been Sir Tom Elliott who could have got that award. But the two of them, 5 different divisions with the same clubs, pretty impressive. But Dan Fisher never played for us in non-league, so he's not been with us quite as long. And this is it for him, unless he scores. I think he needs like 8 goals in this game for him to break the record. So I don't think it's likely that he's going to score 8 goals. You never know, though. The game might just decide, you know what? We've enjoyed Dan Fisher for 8 or 9 seasons, or however long it is he's been knocking around. I mean, there's every chance the new ground might be named after him. Who knows? We'll have to check who's on the Legends list. But, you know, it could be. I'd like it to be the Sir Tom Elliott Stadium, but he's I think he's not even on. He might be on the favoured personnel list, but obviously it wouldn't be the Sir Tom Elliott Stadium anyway, because he got his knighthood taken away as soon as he retired as a player. Chris Ruggles with the assist from Fisher, 44 seconds on the clock. Fisher's just saying, "There you go, Chris. This is me officially passing the torch to you on this chase for this record that's been in place for 40 years. Make it happen in the Premier League, son." And there's a goal for Ruggles. 1-0. And there you go. We're gonna make it look easy now. We're gonna smash Swindon, actually ruin their playoff hopes. They need a win to get into the playoffs. And we want Dan Fisher to score one last goal. That would be... I don't mind if we lose 6-2 as long as our second goal comes from Dan Fisher. That would be absolutely fine by me. Between the two games, we have already started spending some of the wage budget. We haven't agreed to sign any players yet, but we have offered some new contracts to players who were... basically, it's the players you've asked for them at the moment off the back of the promotion. So Lee Hugo, Levi Hayes, Tony Barron, they've all signed new contracts in the £10,000 to £25,000 a week range. And Barron, I think, is the highest paid player at the club now on about £23,000 a week, which seems like an extraordinary amount of money for Nuneaton to be paying. But we're a Premier League team now, and he's apparently worth £7.5 million. So... on the open market, what, 10 to 15 million quid you'd expect to get for him? You'd expect to pay a 10 or 15 million pound player £25,000 a week at least. So I guess we need to get used to these new higher wages. The problem, of course, is when we've only got £350,000 a week to play with, we can't have a whole load of them in the squad. We're going to need to pick and choose our top stars and give them the money they deserve, and then make the rest of the squad up with slightly cheaper players. But when you think that on the shortlist for player of the season in the Championship, you've got Sawyer, Barron, Hayes, they've got to be players who get decent contracts. They've got to be in that elite group of our top players. And Lee Hugo, it's taken us 15 years to find a decent goalkeeper. We need to pay him the money it takes to keep him at the club. Dan Fisher has just scored what could well be his final goal for Nuneaton. And what an absolute beauty it was. Look at the state of this. Who says he's not got it anymore? It's his first goal of the season. There's tears in my eyes, boys and girls. Look at that. Dan Fisher. Oh, I'm going to miss that man. Oh, I'm going to miss him so much. Dan, go out and get a hat-trick, you beautiful human being. I tell you what, Dan, here we go. Here's my promise to you. Get a hat-trick, we give you one more year. You can get that Premier League goal. And maybe even break the record. He might get a run of games in the team. But prove to me that you're as good as Ruggles, you're as good as Hull, you're as good as Afsharian, you're as good as Stainsby, all these other strikers that we've got knocking around the club. Prove you're at that level, and we might just give you one more year, as long as it's cheap enough. I don't want any of this 10 grand a week nonsense that you were pushing for when you were in League One. But if you want to stick around for £1 a week for one more year just to get a game in the Premier League, I won't be against that happening. But it needs to be for the right price, and he needs to prove that he's got it. One more goal, Dan. One more goal. Right, it's closing in on substitution o'clock. We have to leave Sawyer, Ball and Fisher on the pitch. The three of them. I mean, add Sir Tom Elliott to the mix. They're the four icons of the save, surely. They've all got to be on the pitch, or as many of them as we can, who've not retired. Joe Anderson as well, I guess, needs to be in that number. But they all need to stay on the pitch when the final whistle goes on our last game at this ground. I've just tried to take two of them off mid-speech. Don't do that, Kev, you moron. Keep them on the pitch. Right, Daniel Higgins is going to come on because game time is always going to be good for him. And Alex Denny, he might not play. He might not survive into the Premier League for us. He's 33 now. This might be his final game for the club, so we'll get him on as well. And then also get Hayden Sheridan a bit more game time, because game time is always good for these youngsters. So get Sheridan and Higgins into the game. There you go. We've got the past, present and future all on the pitch at the same time. Oh, it's like final day of the season poetry. Fisher plays it forward to Ruggles. Ruggles to James Ball. Go on, son. No. I mean, a James Ball goal would be pretty special at this point as well. I mean, he's been scoring consistently throughout the season the way he always has, but it would be nice for him to... I think it would be fitting for him to be the last ever goal scorer at Liberty Way. I could live with that. Denny plays it through to Dan Fisher. It would be just as fitting if he's not going to break the all-time record scorer record, at least be the last man to score at this ground. Come on, Dan Fisher. I know he currently is, but I'm still expecting to concede another goal yet. So he needs to grab a couple more. Be the last man to get a hat-trick here or something. Sheridan heads clear-ish. We've got 3.5 minutes of added time left on the clock. And Denny intercepts, and it's with Dan Fisher. He must be exhausted. He's not played 90 minutes of football for years. Ruggles politely misses because he wants Dan Fisher to have the last goal at this ground. What a man Chris Ruggles is. And it's played forward towards a crowded penalty area. And Swindon are on the break. Don't spoil our fun. I know you want to get into the playoffs. Don't spoil our fun, you monsters. Hugo plays it towards Sheridan. Doesn't get anywhere near him, but Higgins intercepts. And it's with Dan Fisher again. Not only did he score the last goal here, he's just had the last touch of a football here. Dan Fisher, thank you for everything you have done for us over the years. But I think that's your lot for Dan Fisher. It's very sad. Let's have a look to see if he's on there. So, in fact, he is a club legend. So am I now. Wowzers, that must have just happened when we got to the Premier League. So, potential names for the new ground. We don't want the Livesey Mason Arena. Paul Colpin's the guy who's currently got the all-time record scorer level. We all know who Malcolm Christie is. It's going to be the Kevin Chapman Arena or the Dan Fisher Arena, surely. I think either of them have got quite a nice ring to it. I could be on board with either of them. Wow. So, tomorrow at lunchtime-ish, keep an eye on my social media to know exactly when it's happening. We're going to live stream this transfer window. We'll just pick up exactly from this point. We'll find out where we're going to be playing next year. We'll find out what players we've brought in. I'm just going to close the game down now and open it up again tomorrow lunchtime. So, hopefully you'll be able to come and join me for that. If you can't join live, it will be available as a video as close to 4-ish as YouTube rendering allows it to happen. But it'll just be like a 2-hour-long video for you to watch when you warm up for the World Cup semi-final. What a day! If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.